Good morning. Welcome. Today, the topic is you deserve to have a blessed life. That is the topic for today's video. So as you're coming in, go ahead and like the video, say hello, let me know that you're here. And of course, as we're going through, if you've got questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But again, today we're talking about how you deserve to have a blessed life. So, there's lots of different beliefs that you may find that you want to shift and change when you're wanting to manifest things. Lots of different beliefs. But there's one belief that's at the foundation. It's the most important belief. And if you don't have this belief and it's not solid, manifesting your blessed life is going to be a challenge. Do you know what that belief is? What do you think is the number one most important belief that you carry? I want you to think about that for a second. Most important belief. Now, the belief is, I am worthy. I am worthy. If you don't have a belief that you are worthy, you're going to struggle to create the life that you're supposed to have, because you are worthy and you deserve to be blessed. You deserve to have everything that you want. But this belief that you're unworthy, if it's popping up, it will cause problems with all this other stuff that you want to correct. And so today's video is really important because a lot of times people are putting the cart before the horse when it comes to the law of attraction, when it comes to manifestation. They want to jump right to, I am abundant, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am this, I am that. But the core, the worthiness, hasn't yet been figured out or really internalized. So in today's video, we're really going to talk about why you are worthy so that you start to believe in it more. And I'm going to show you some ways to step into the belief that you are worthy. And so if self-worth or self-esteem or self-love is something that either you're struggling with a lot or you do see that it crops up from time to time, this is a really great video to listen in on. And it may be a good video for you to save and come back to if you want to repeat this information. All right, but that is the topic for today's video. A couple quick hellos here. Thanks for the super happy Daisy. I appreciate you. Peace, I see you've got a super sticker. Let me answer that one in just a second. Thank you so much. Also one from Ray. But a few quick hellos here. Hello, Peace. Hello, Happy Koala. You saw a great Porsche. Maybe it was me. Hi, Island Joy. Hi, starting at 50. Hello, Britt. My lovely assistant Mary is here today. Hello, Mary. Hi, ASMR Tingled Pink. Hello, Natalie, Louise, Guillaume, Fairy Girl. I see a lot of you guys jumping in on Instagram as well. Hello, Vard Hitnik. I see that you've got a question here. I'm going to be answering questions in just a moment. But yeah, if you guys do have questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat. Hello, when I was just a Titan. Nice to see you. All right. Again, today we're talking about you deserve to have a blessed life. So I want to jump in with the first point, and I'm going to answer some of these questions that are coming in. All right. Here's something we got to understand at the base. Okay, if you really want to step into a state of a high level of self-worth, a high level of self-love, and again, this is important. If you believe that you're worthy, it doesn't matter what your dream is. You're going to believe that you should have it. Okay, so this is the foundation belief. This one's got to be in there first. Okay, here's the thing that we have to understand on a very base level. Your worth is not earned. It is inherent, meaning you don't earn your worth. You don't prove your worth. You simply have worth. You are born with worth. Okay? A lot of people believe they have to prove their worth. Okay, I have to do something to prove that I deserve this. I have to do something to prove that I'm good enough or that I should have it. But that's flawed thinking. The truth is, your worth is inherent. You are born with it. Okay, so the example that I like to give for this is the baby. Okay, when a baby is born, you just look at the baby and you know the baby is worthy. Okay, the baby is worthy. It doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to prove anything to be loved. It doesn't have to prove anything to be fed. Everybody just knows that baby has worth. But somewhere along the line, the baby grows up and starts messing around on earth, and it starts to believe that it has to perform for its worth. It has to perform for its value. And so the way that this usually happens for most of you is that growing up, you were taught that you need to perform in order to get attention, or in order to get love, or in order to get the things that you wanted. Okay, so maybe your parents had rules that you had to follow, or maybe your teachers had rules or expectations. And so the world around you, you started to interact with it, and you started to believe that in order to be a good little boy or a good little girl who was worthy, you had to do things to keep other people happy. You had to toe the line. You had to stop worrying about yourself and worry about what everybody else is doing in order to get the things that you wanted. And in childhood, is where this unworthiness thing starts going for most people. Okay. So you don't have to earn your love. Okay. The love is inherent. This right here is the relationship, by the way, between trying too hard and not receiving. Okay, so again, when I talk about self-worth is a foundational belief. It's the most critical belief. When you believe that you have to prove your worth, you are going to be trying too hard. You are going to be doing a lot of things because the belief structure is, I'm not just allowed to have as I am. I have to perform. I have to act. I have to try. Okay? And so when we talk a lot about detaching and letting go and receiving are about sitting in your self-worth and knowing that you're worthy to have things just as you are, rather than doing all the action. And there's a reason why so many people struggle with detaching and letting go, and it's because they don't have this critical core belief that they are worthy. So again, the first thing that you always want to remember is that your worth is inherent. You were born with it. You do not perform for it. If you had to prove your worth, you would have more value than the baby. You would be more worthy than the baby because you've done a lot more. But that's not the way we perceive it. We often perceive that the babies, that the children, that the helpless animals, they're worthy. But us doing all this stuff, we're not. Why is that? It's because we trained ourselves to believe that we had to prove our worth. And when you believe that, you don't actually believe that you're worthy. Okay? Worth isn't proven, worth is inherent. That's the first thing we gotta straighten out. But there is more. Let's answer a couple quick questions here. Peace, thank you so much for the super. Peace asks, I love minimalism and simplicity. Since I've been living it more, my clients have reduced. Now it's no longer enough for the monthly cost. Any advice? Oh, I love how you notice the parallel, right? You know, it's an interesting thing because the law of attraction will respond to what's going on. And so sometimes I talk about spending as a way of attracting more money. And it's the exact inverse of what's going on here with peace, which is that, you know, everything in the universe is kind of a use it or lose it. If you're using money, you're going to attract more of it, provided you have positive belief structures about it. But if we reduce our use of money and we're not needing it, then that message may reduce the amount that's coming in. Okay. Now, something that can be easily remedied, right? So since this has to do with your business in particular, what I might recommend is looking at how do I invest more in my business. Now, right now, it feels like we don't have enough to invest in the business, but I want you to think about investing in your business, maybe not even monetarily, but the idea that I'm putting energy into that, okay? Because the more that I'm putting into that, the more that's going to grow. I'm saying this because it's not just about how much you spend, it's about how much energy you put into stuff. So I've noticed that when there's times where, I've been slacking or taking it easy, money also goes down. So it's really about where your focus is. Investing in your business, investing your energy, investing your time. The other thing too is appreciating the clients. So when you start to notice that the money in your business is going down or the clients are going down, the mind naturally starts to sense lack. I'm losing my mojo. There's less. And the more I pay attention to less, the more clients drop off the roster. So instead, you want to redirect your focus back to these are the clients that I've had. I've always had clients. I've attracted lots of clients in my time. I know how to do this. I know how to get them. And then the mind switches more back on having. Okay. So you don't need to go out and spend a bunch of money. Okay. But we want to make sure that the mind is focused on appreciation rather than on lack when it comes to this particular thing. And also investing your energy and looking at investing into your business. I hope that makes sense. You got this. Next one, we got Ray. Thank you, Ray, for this super. Ray says, I appreciate your course. I even talk to God like ChatGPT and ChatGPT like God. I'm creating Lori, an AI mentor that works for the user, not corporations. How do I use the law of attraction to attract the right team and the funding to bring it to life? The right team is simply asking, and when people show up, if they feel good, you go with them, okay? The reason why I'm saying that, the reason why I'm saying that specifically is because sometimes when you guys are building businesses and you're hiring people or you're working collaboratively with people, you may feel compelled to sign with something out of a state of fear or anxiety. Well, this is the best guy, but you have a squirrely feeling about it. You want to make sure that you avoid that. You want to make sure that all the interactions that you're having with potential people that you work with are in a way that feels light and high vibrational. Okay. A way that you can mitigate this is that before you interview people or before you put out applications, whatever it is that you're doing to line up with people, get yourself into a high frequency before you meet with them. Okay. A lot of times people think there's the right person and the wrong person. The same person could be the right person or the wrong person, depending on how I line up with them. So if when I'm meeting people, these team members, if I'm in a negative vibration, or if I'm thinking negative things or having negative expectations, I'm going to line up with a version of that person that is in lack. And that is not going to be helpful. Okay. So make sure to put, the horse before the cart here. Get yourself in a positive mind state before you interview people, before you sit down with people, because really anybody could be the right person if you're in the right state of mind. But if you are talking to somebody and it feels off, it feels fearful, move on to the next. Okay. Sense your gut. Okay. Same thing with funding. I don't want you to feel like you need these things, more like they might help. There's a lot that I can do with what I have. I already have plenty. I've already started to get this going, rather than I need this money to make it happen, or I need these people. Generate the momentum where you are and notice that you have enough to get it going as you are. Okay. Of course, people would help. Of course, funding would help. But a lot of times people get stagnant when they're trying to execute their business visions because they're waiting for the right people. They're waiting for the money, and the opportunity is missed to just get the momentum rolling. Okay. Best of luck, Ray. Another super here real quick. Alexandra, thank you so much, Alexandra. How do I attract a business partner who can execute my ideas? I am creative but lose interest in repetitive tasks. I need someone to make them real. Man, we've got lots of business questions today already. a business partner who can execute my ideas? Well, asking, what are we doing anything? Have you put out any kind of applications? Are you meeting with anybody? The main thing is start getting on the track. Okay. Same thing with the last question. A lot of times with the law of attraction, people may be hoping that we can just kind of drop someone out of the sky, and that can happen. But remember what I said a few minutes ago, what you invest in will grow. So if you start to invest in the process and just looking for people, that will start to accelerate and you'll start to notice. Okay. Again, the big thing is when you want to work with the right people, you want to make sure that you're vibing yourself before you meet up with them. Okay. So make sure that you're in a good place before you meet with them. The other thing is it can also be helpful to notice that this is a dynamic that does exist a lot out in the business world. So this is actually a very common dynamic. And why that's important is that if you think that this is rare or hard to accomplish, it's going to be harder for you to find it. But like the classic pair I think of is like the Steve Jobs, and Steve Wozniak. They were like the two different things. You had Jobs who had the vision and what Wozniak executed. Okay. That dynamic's actually very, very common. So if you start to notice that there's lots of businesses that do this, lots of business visionaries who do this, it's going to make it seem like something that's very common. And when it's something that's very common in your mind, it's going to be easier for you to attract. Okay. Great question. Very, very good. Again, today, guys, we're talking about you deserve to have a blessed life. That is the topic for today. If you haven't yet, please make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. I do go live every single week, and so I love seeing you guys. So go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join me each week as you can. In addition to that, if you are new to my work or you have not yet taken my manifesting test, make sure to do that. This is a free 5-minute test where you can prove the law of attraction to yourself. Put something out and watch it come back so that you know your power. You can take that test at manifestingtest.com. The link will also be in the description, should be in the chat. On Instagram, the link will be in the link tree in my bio, but manifestingtest.com is the direct link. Okay. You deserve to have a blessed life. Remember, your worth is inherent. The idea that you need to prove your worth is BS. It's not real. When you attempt to prove your worth, what you're really saying is, I'm not worthy as I am. I'm not worthy as I am. So all this trying, all this attempting to make things happen, at the core, there's this belief that says, I'm not worthy just to have it. So this is the core belief we got to have if we want to be really good at manifesting on a regular basis. Okay. All right. So the next thing we have to understand, even if you don't believe in your worth, you're still worthy of creating your reality, and you will still create regardless of your belief in yourself. Okay? You are worthy because you are the one that sits on the throne in your reality. You create your reality. You're the king, you're the queen, you're the emperor, you're the empress. You are that. Whether or not you believe that doesn't matter, because you're still going to be the one in charge, regardless of what you believe. A lot of times people think that when they're manifesting positive results, oh, I'm the creator, I'm doing a good job. And when they manifest negative results, I'm not in charge, this is out of my hands, this is happening to me. No, you're always the one in charge. And this is a very powerful thing to wrap your mind around, even when things aren't going your way, because it will help you understand your worth, your inherent worth. The reason you can tell that you are worthy is that the universe always obeys you. It obeys you. It does what you say. So when you're manifesting positive results, it's because the message that you're putting out is, I have a positive expectation about this. I have a positive expectation about this. And the universe will respond by matching that to you. It will give it to you. But if you tell the universe, I have a negative expectation about this, I expect things to go poorly, I expect things to be taken away from you, the universe will respond and do that. Not because it's taking it away from you, but because it's obeying you. You have to understand this. Even if you don't feel worthy in a moment, you're still worthy because the universe is still obeying you. One of the biggest transformations that happens for people when it comes to becoming very good at manifesting is when they can take ownership for anything that happens and they don't even see it in a negative light. It's like, oh, I can see how I did that. Okay. Something that you really want to work on is owning not just the positive manifestations, but the negative manifestations, because the negative manifestations are still proof that you are worthy because the universe is obeying you. It's always obeying you. The way that I like to liken it is that, life is like a dream. Okay. We are creating it through our consciousness. And depending on where you are at consciousness wise, you're either going to create a beautiful dream or a terrible nightmare. But it's your choice. Okay. And if you're like me, you've done both. Okay. I have created some pretty terrible nightmares in my life. And in those moments, I thought that I wasn't worthy. I thought God was against me or the universe was against me. Where in reality, what was going on was I was creating the nightmare. Okay. It's a very important thing. And a lot of times people will feel that if they have to take responsibility for the negative manifestations, that there's blame or they did something wrong or they're bad people. No, not at all. You're just the one in charge. That's all. Okay. That's it. It's actually very empowering to understand that. And understanding that you're in charge of everything helps you know your worth. When you realize, finally get it, that you're the one on the throne and you cannot be dethroned. Even if you don't like yourself, even if you don't love yourself, you cannot be dethroned. Once you really get that, you start to understand, oh, okay, I am worthy. Okay, so taking ownership of the things that aren't working out actually really helps you in understanding and believing in your self-worth. It's something a lot of people are afraid to do, but as long as you're afraid to take ownership of the negative stuff, you stay bound in a state of not having the self-worth that you want. Okay, so I do recommend that. That is something that I always do recommend to people, is that if you really want to believe in the law of attraction and really know your power, when things happen, trace it back to what you were just thinking. Okay, so if you get into a traffic jam, ask yourself, what was I thinking? What was I feeling right before that happened? Because you'll start to notice, oh, I was on the throne putting out this vibration of anxiety or stress. And so the universe obeyed me and threw more stress in my reality. It's just obeying me because I'm on the throne. Okay, and once you know that, you can always make the shift. All right, so that's the other thing that can be very helpful about starting to know your self-worth, is realizing that you cannot be kicked off the throne. The universe is always obeying you because you are inherently worthy. Very important thing to realize. Banji on Instagram asks, hi Andrea, I want to ask, how do I use law of attraction to heal my bloating issues, as it really frustrates me? One day I am bloated and sluggish and look heavy, but the other day I am lean. I could give you the law of attraction answer. I kind of want to give you a physical answer though, because I stumbled onto something, and maybe this is you attracting information through me. Because I've dealt with that. One thing that I've noticed, if you haven't keyed in on this yet, is that there seems to be kind of a connection to carbs and sodium to bloating that I've been experiencing. So I might recommend just trying to eat more protein and more fats over sodium and carbs. That you don't have to get rid of them, but a lot of times, maybe it's because of the self-soothing concept. If I try to tie it back into manifestation, I would probably say that when people are kind of stressed, a lot of times they tend to reach for foods that are more carby or more sugary or more sodium-y. Okay. And so it can kind of be a way of trying to soothe anxiety, and then the body's kind of responding to the anxiety. Trying to eat in a way that feels good for your body is helpful. So if you've been eating foods that Excess of carbohydrate, excess of sodium, excess of sugar. It may be that you're trying to self-soothe through your food. I might recommend trying the other way and noticing that you'll be leaned out on those days. Because I've definitely noticed that the healthier that I've been eating, that I just don't really get bloated anymore. And I would correlate that to I'm eating in a way that feels good for me. I'm not trying to self-medicate through my food, right? Rather, I'm trying to be kind to myself through my food. And when you're kind to yourself through your food, the body's going to respond in kind, okay? Hope that's helpful. I watch a lot of bodybuilding content, believe it or not. So that's where I learned that. All right, quick note, guys, before we move forward. You may have seen that I have in the chat, I've got my next sale for one of my programs is going up at the end of this month. And so the program that I'm putting on its best sale of the year is going to be my Magnetic Appeal program. So this is my love attraction program. So this particular program is really good for people who have a hard time feeling worthy of a lasting, passionate, and loving relationship. It's also good for people who are either struggling to get a new relationship going or they're disappointed that an existing relationship has lost its fire and excitement. If you found yourself attracted to unavailable, detached, or even toxic people, this is a good program for that. It is also good if you have a specific love interest who isn't showing you the attention and connection you've been craving, or if you'd simply like to have the magnetic it factor that draws in high quality romantic partners easily and effortlessly. So this is not a program for just single people or just married people or coupled people. If you're really having any kind of problems in your love life, this is a great program to get while it's on its sale. If you would like to get the code to get that program for 50% off at the end of the month, make sure to go ahead and sign up for the notifications. Oh, I got the wrong one on YouTube there. If you want to sign up for the notifications, the link is in the description. It is also in the chat. I'm sure Mary's dropping it in there. And if you're on Instagram, the link is in the link tree in my bio. Again, when you sign up, just put your email in there and I will send you the 50% off code when it goes live at the end of the month. Okay, that's that business. Again, today, guys, we are talking about you deserve to have a blessed life. If you don't believe that you are worthy as you are, if you believe that you have to do a bunch of work to prove that you deserve things, that's going to be a fundamental problem moving forward with your manifestation. Again, a lot of times people want to correct a lot of other beliefs. They want to believe in I am abundant, I am attractive, I am smart, I am healthy. They have all these individual belief structures that they want to shift. But the one you gotta have for the most success is I am worthy. When you believe that you are worthy, you really believe that, you start to believe that you deserve to have the things that you want. It's very common that when people don't have the belief in their self-worth, they may feel like, well, maybe this isn't on my life path. Maybe I'm not supposed to have that. Maybe it's not good for me to have that. And that way of thinking gets in the way of them being able to actually believe in having the things that they want. But when you believe you're worthy, you really believe it, you believe that you should have the things that you want. You believe that you should have a good life. And all that other squirrely stuff stays out of the way. So if you're going to take the time to change your belief structures, put a lot of attention on this one primarily, okay? Because this one feeds into all the others. Very, very important. Okay. Now, next point here. It is better for everyone for you to be worthy, to know your worthiness, and for you to have a blessed life. It's better for everyone for you to know your worth and manifest a blessed life. It's not just good for you. It's a very important thing to understand. A lot of times people believe that if they get what they want, other people are put out, other people are disadvantaged, It's unfair for them to have money. It's unfair for them to have love. It's unfair for them to get what they want. But that's not true. When you know your worth, you will create a blessed life. When you create a blessed life for yourself, as you should, you also create it for everyone else. It's not a zero-sum game. And I can explain it as simple as this, okay? Let's say that you get your self-worth up to a place where you really are creating the kind of life that you deserve to have. It's a beautiful life. Things are going splendidly. Well, if things are going splendidly, the people around you are probably doing nice things for you. They're probably connecting with you. They're smiling at you. They're being kind to you, meaning when you have a blessed life, the people in your life are also blessed because they are clearly in a high vibration. When you don't know your worth, when you are in a lowered state of vibration where you don't know your worth, you will create the nightmare. Okay. And I know I created the nightmare for myself. I had just a miserable experience for a long time, and I attracted lots of fights. I attracted lots of jealous people. I attracted lots of breakups, lots of issues. Why? Because when my self-worth isn't realized, the self-worth of the characters in my reality is also not realized. So I match up with people who are struggling internally as well. You save everyone else by saving yourself. I get so many questions from people here in the comments about how do I help someone through their illness, or how do I help someone through their drug addiction? The real trick is you got to help yourself. You got to work on your own self-worth, because when your self-worth is very high and you understand that you're the one on the throne and you take your sense of self seriously, you project out a message that says, I'm the one in charge. I'm the one who's doing this. I'm creating a positive life. I'm creating a blessed life. And the people around you mirror that. And so you will see that the people that are close to you, the higher your vibration gets, the higher theirs does too. Have you ever been in a friendship group and maybe you had some success and then one of your friends started having some success? Or you were doing well and then one of your kids started doing well? This will happen. When you start to know your self-worth and you start to do better, that radiates out into the rest of the collective. So it's not only just important for you selfishly to know your self-worth, because I know a lot of people think that this is selfish. It's about just caring about me. Well, when you care about yourself, you help everyone else. So not only are you inherently worthy, you should know that you're worthy. That's what you should be doing. That's the correct thing to be doing. It's not the selfish thing to be doing. It's not the bad thing to be doing. It's the thing that not only helps you, but it helps everyone else. You cannot create a blessed life and manifest a bunch of cranky, angry, difficult people around you. Those two things aren't in harmony. Okay? So you believing in your worth is good for everyone, not just for you. It's another thing you want to remember at all times. We got another super here. Hello, Snow Sparkle. Thank you so much. More businessy questions. How to excel at a new sales job? I'm under a C team and don't have any formal training. I'm trying to learn on my own, but triggers more anxiety than I want. My general law of attraction mindset is I do what I want, and law of attraction has worked for me. Okay. Yeah. Sales is a vibration game. I was talking about this maybe the last live. I'm actually thinking about making a sales course next because I get lots of questions about sales. Sales is an energetic game. It's not about manipulating people into doing what you want them to do. It's not about doing things that are embarrassing. It's about putting out the vibration that what I have something to give to help. Okay? I have something to give you that will help you. If you want it, if you're smart, It will help. If you don't, that's fine too. There's no insistence, but it's a knowing of the worth of what you're offering. So I'm going to tie this into the self-worth concept because this is kind of what comes through when I'm selling things, all right? I know my self-worth, so I know I can just have the things that I want. If I know the worth of my product and I believe that it's helpful, there's no squirrely energy about it. It's simply, I have something for you. If you want it, great. If you don't, that's fine. This is your way of giving and detaching. Okay, so what I would recommend in your position, since this is a new sales job, is you may want to look at what you're selling, and I want you to think about what is it providing. Is it solving a question for somebody? Is it helping them with something? And really get behind you the idea that this product is beneficial. Okay, that's the big thing. You have to believe in what it is that you're offering something positive and something helpful. A lot of times people don't think about that. So the energy that they put out is, I'm just asking this person for their money and this is awkward. Or, I'm just trying to screw this person over in a weird way because I'm trying to make a commission. It just feels like that. That's the wrong way to go about it. The way you want to go about it is this is something that assists, this is something that helps. And please notice that when you do that with a product and you believe in it, it will have the desired effect on the person. Okay? It's my best suggestion for getting started with that. Congrats! Sales is fun. You're going to like it. Natalie says, not only do I have a bit of a hard time to feel worth it, but I also feel I'm being denied. You will, okay? So it's good though that you recognize it, okay? So you recognize that I'm not feeling my self-worth and you're recognizing that you're being denied it. The reason why you're having the experience of being denied it is, again, the universe is obeying you. So that was the second point that I came up on the video. Even if you don't believe in your self-worth, the universe will still obey you. So if you don't believe in yourself, the universe will obey that and provide to you evidence to support that belief. Okay? So those two things go hand in hand. They're actually evidence that you're being obeyed by the universe. The more you believe in yourself, the more doors are just going to open for you. And when you see that, oh, okay, it's still listening to me. Okay, so your worth is inherent because you're always being obeyed. Okay, so this is a perfect example of that exact dynamic. Thank you for sharing, Natalie. Dania? Hi, Andrea. I'm 30 years old and I ended up in a 10-year relationship. Now all my girlfriends are getting married and I feel behind. How can I recover my self-esteem and self-worth? Well, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe you're going to find one that's even better because you kind of saw what you didn't want. So let's think about it. Let's say that in the next 6 months, somebody really fabulous comes along. It's like the absolute perfect fit. You're madly in love. Wonderful. Well, if you were already in a different relationship, you wouldn't have met that one. Okay? So I always want you guys to see this as, you didn't miss the boat because the boat can always come. There's always another one coming. A lot of times people get squirrely with relationships, like this was the one or there was only one. That can't possibly be correct because you guys keep attracting more people into your life. Okay, once you kind of cut the cord with one, usually somebody else will show up in one form or fashion. Okay, so that's one of the big things. Again, I do have the magnetic appeal program coming up soon. That one might be good for you. But how to recover your self-esteem and self-worth. That really kind of segues into my next point. So let's talk about that. How do you recover it? Or how do you get it? It's an important thing to understand. This is the big trick. You don't need to exclude your feelings of unworthiness. That's the big thing. Okay. So, what I mean by that is if you guys can sense that you don't have a strong sense of self worth, or you don't always feel deserving, or you don't always feel loving, the natural tendency that people will say is, well, how do I stop thinking that way? How do I get rid of these thoughts about myself? The big trick is always an integration rather than exclusion. So, this is a very important thing to understand about stepping into your self worth. If you are in a place where you do not feel worthy and deserving in life, those thoughts are a running, okay? They are on autopilot. They are going to come up at any old time. That's what's going to happen because they're very well rehearsed. They are a habit, nothing more, okay? So when they come up, and they will, your job is not to exclude them or push them away. And this is why people have a hard time generating self-worth, is that they start to beat up on themselves for those feelings. I shouldn't have thought that way. I shouldn't have felt that way. I'm supposed to be positive. This is not how we change any belief, okay? The way that you change the self-worth belief is simply by starting to pay more attention to the evidence that you are worthy and to focusing on your worth. So kind of like what we're doing here. I've been telling you guys all these reasons why you're worthy. These are reasons that you want to start to dwell on. You want to start to dwell on your inner self-worth. You want to start to dwell on the idea that everyone is worthy, that people are born worthy. You want to think about this stuff because that plants the new seed, the new belief. As long as you continue to water the new belief, it will grow. Now, what can hinder the process is by getting upset about the negative beliefs. Okay? Instead, when they come in, we want to try to integrate them. Well, it's okay that I'm thinking this way. I'm learning a better way. I'm getting better at knowing my self-worth. I'm getting better at understanding myself. You know what? At least I notice now that I'm thinking these thoughts. I used to be totally oblivious to them. At least I saw this one. I must be improving. Rather than, oh, I just thought so negative. I'm doing this wrong. This is bad. I have to stop. I talk about this a lot on the channel. It's a very important thing to understand. When you want to shift a belief, you want to integrate the negative belief, not exclude it. It's going to come up. It's well rehearsed. You want to focus on the idea that you're becoming more self-loving, more, having a higher self-esteem, because with all things, there's a buildup of momentum. The more you think a thought, the more momentum it will build to the point where there will be a tipping point. Okay. And I know that this is the case because I've seen it within myself. I've seen it within clients too, where maybe the self didn't believe in their worth, but they kept practicing and focusing on the elements that made them worthy to the point where that voice became dominant. Once your self-worth voice becomes dominant, these other thoughts start to sound idiotic. And I know some of you guys are already kind of there because you'll tell me that you heard someone saying something and, oh my gosh, that was so silly. Why would they think that way? Once you start to notice that these self-deprecating, down-putting thoughts are idiotic, you're really getting there. Okay. And it gets easier and easier. And so that's the point here. It's not about eradicating out the negative thoughts. It's about really starting to water the seed that you are worthy and allowing it to grow. All right. We're not trying to just pour pesticide on the other plant. We're just growing this plant to the point where all of its roots are taking up the space and the other plant has nowhere to grow. That's what we're doing. Okay. So if you're trying to become more in tune with your own self-worth, you don't need to fear your negative thoughts. Just spend some time. I really do recommend doing this, especially in the morning, like when you're waking up, getting ready in the morning, thinking about what makes you worthy, why you are a good person, why you love yourself, why you deserve to have a good life. Okay? The more you dwell on that, the bigger it will get. Okay? It's a fairly simple process. Just make sure that you're doing it. Okay. Got another super here from Monica. Thank you, Monica. My hubby and I keep trying to get back together. I live out of state and obstacles out of our control are constantly blocking him to be with me. Well, so clearly there's some resistance, right? And so if you guys start having cycles like this, you guys notice this? Where you're trying to do something, but there's a block. And then you try to do it, but there's a block. And then you try to do it, but there's a block. And then you try to do it, but there's a block. Okay. This is something that will happen with the law of attraction. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it. It's very cyclical. Okay. So the idea is that what's driving the ship is some fear and some stress. Okay. It may be beneficial to back out of this for a while and to focus on the idea that everything is okay as it is. I don't need for this to happen. Maybe there's something else that's going to work out for me. Because then what we're going to stop doing is we're going to stop trying to make it happen. Okay, when we're trying to make it happen, if there's some fear or some anxiety, it will become bigger. Again, when we know our self-worth, we know we're worthy of just having it. If we're having to do a whole lot of effort and there's a lot of obstacles that are coming in, there's a part of me that believes I shouldn't have this, or I can't have this, or maybe he doesn't want this, or there's something that's going on in there, okay? Not sure exactly what it is from this statement, but there's something that's going on in there about I don't feel worthy to have this. And so all the trying is just going to keep reintroducing obstacles. So we want to kind of back out of that, and we want to start to radiate the message that I'm okay as I am. This is fine. I can live this way. Maybe this way is a beautiful life. Maybe this is actually a better way. Not saying it's what you want, but that's the way I want you to start to think about it. Because somebody who feels truly worthy to have everything that they want can understand that no matter where they are, they can be blessed. Okay? So I want you to start to focus on that. Put this aside for now. Not that you can't have it, but because we've become resistant and we feel unworthy. And I want you to focus on the idea that where I am right now, maybe that's working out. Maybe this is the best possible path. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. You know what? I'm just going to stand here in the knowing that what I've got going on is working out for me. This is a good life. This is a good life because I deserve a good life. And then what will happen is reality will shift to mirror that to you more. And so this block right here may shift and it may suddenly click into place because we don't need it to anymore. Because the only reason we need something to happen is because we don't feel worthy of it. Okay? Good luck. You got this. Luis, thank you for the super. Luis says, just wanted to show my appreciation. Also for the person with bloating, you may want to try avoiding gluten, maybe celiac, and do not know it. And like you said, yes, eat less carbs, especially sugar could help. Yeah, I learned something. This is not a science program, okay? I promise you. But I learned something on these bodybuilding things I've been watching. So the word carbohydrate, evidently for every gram of carbs that you ingest, your body will hydrate itself and hold on to 3 grams of water. So if you eat a lot of carbs, you will retain a lot of water within the next few days, and it kind of takes a while for it to shed down. Okay, so it's never really weight gain, it's just water gain. And the word carbohydrate does imply that that's actually what's going on. So this doesn't mean don't eat carbs, just don't go crazy. Minimalist Pinky, what? Can I manifest someone's death? Is that what we're going for? Well, I'm sure you can manifest anything. The question is, what's going on with this person? I don't know that this is necessarily you want bad for the person, or maybe we're afraid we'll do this by accident. But if it is intentional, it isn't helpful for ourselves to try and manifest bad things for other people. Okay? Because what it does is it keeps us tracked in that energy field with whatever's going on. So let's say that something happens with somebody in my reality and they frustrate me or upset me. If I feel that I need to retaliate or punish them, what it means is that I'm holding on to whatever that frustration is. Okay, so if I punish them, I'm actually punishing myself. This doesn't mean that you would kill yourself. But just that it isn't, if you're wanting to create a better life for yourself, the best bet is try to manifest, positive intentions for people. And if you just can't get there with somebody, try to go find someone else to hang out with. Okay. Leave them there and just kind of move aside. Okay. Because the need to try and get even keeps us in a loop that we really don't want to be in. Interesting question. Sacred Feminine. For whatever reason, knowing the law of attraction, I still keep choosing to be in a negative mindset, mostly anger and bitterness. Why might this be? This is a really self-aware question. It's a good question. And I think you're probably not alone that everybody here still gets angry. I get angry. Okay. We're not all high vibe only. We have our moments, and that's okay. Vibration is always in flux. That's the first thing. The other thing is that, again, thoughts are on autopilot. Okay, so if we have anger about a situation or a person or just anything in general, and it kind of stems from something that happened a long time ago or it's tied to it, that way of thinking is on autopilot. Okay, and so it's very normal that anything that hasn't been cleared yet will still come to the surface for us to deal with. All right, so this is how we kind of integrate that. My anger and bitterness is trying to show me something, so I'm glad that it showed up. I'm glad that it's here because clearly there's an opportunity for growth here. There's something that I'm thinking about that isn't in resonance with my highest self. Okay, so what am I angry about? And why am I angry about it? And really, how does this have to do with me? Okay? Because when we're angry, when we're upset, what it really means is I believe that this has something to do with me. It's saying something negative about me. Maybe it's saying I'm unworthy. Maybe it's saying that people can beat me up or be unkind to me or nobody's ever nice to me. It comes back to me though. So whatever that is, we want to try and flip the belief, find the opposite belief. Okay. So if it's making me angry because it's making me feel unworthy, the opposite belief is I am worthy. If it's making me angry because it makes me feel unlikable, the opposite belief is I am likable. And thank you, anger and bitterness, for showing up to let me know that I have an opportunity to believe better about myself. Okay? Hope that's helpful. Great question. Again, a very self-aware question. Chris Introspect on Instagram. I tried law of manifestation and things show up, but my question is, what do you think are the reasons why things in the middle of a process, they just drift away slowly and vanishing? What went wrong? Sometimes you'll get momentum towards something and it will stall out. Okay, I get this question. I think this is kind of what you're asking about. I get this from time to time. You guys may find yourself in a position like maybe you want to manifest a job, okay? And you get called on an interview and you go to the first interview and it went well, and then you go on the second interview and it looks like it's working out, but somewhere along the process, it stops working and it stalls out, okay? So this is actually a fairly common thing that can happen. And it really just happens, which is that the momentum starts going and you start getting kind of excited, and then you start worrying about what if it doesn't work out. Okay. So before you're actually at the final interview, you can still be kind of optimistic. Okay. Oh, maybe they'll call me, maybe they'll this. But once it starts getting serious, you're like, oh, well, what if it doesn't work out? That will pull it away. Okay. So as you guys are getting closer to things, it helps to become more detached rather than more attached. So if you can sense that you're starting to get overly excited or overly invested in something working out, it's a really great time to kind of pause what you're doing with that thing and go do something else. Okay, so the example that I always give is like when I run sales. So when I run sales, there's the potential for a lot of business to come in the door. Okay. Now, I do all the things, I can see that people are interested, and that's great. But if on the day that the sale is supposed to occur, I need the sales to come and I'm so stressed about it, it'd peter out. So instead, what I do is as I get closer to the sale date, I start to do less and pull back. I will go do things like maybe go to the spa or go to the beach or take the day off because I want to detach myself from needing it to happen. Okay. So if you guys are in the process of trying to manifest something and it's one of those things like getting a job or getting a boyfriend, it's something where it kind of spirals in. And as you get closer, it starts to pull away. It just means you get a little too excited, a little too anxious before the final thing comes into play. Okay. So pull back your energy from it as you start approaching the deadline, so to speak. I hope that's helpful. Great question. Interesting comments. Orit, that's an interesting question. I don't get this very often. How do you know all this fascinating knowledge that you know? Do you learn from mentors, books? Do you channel this information? I would say all of the above. I've always been fascinated, like from the time I was a young kid, I've always been fascinated in whatever the heck is going on out there. So I do feel that I consider myself kind of like a conscious channel. So I don't put myself out consciously before I come out here. I'm not like in a meditative state, but I feel like I just get insight that comes through. But that being said, I also do read books and learn a lot at the same time. So all of the above. All of the above. So now 88. Hi Andrea. How to raise a 6-year-old to believe in the law of attraction when you don't have money to do anything fun buying them things? How can I say no without breaking her? That's a good question. So we want to focus on the idea that she can have the things that she wants. Okay, so that's a great thing to want. You know, it's good that you want that. You know, maybe it will come at some time rather than no, you can't have it. Okay, or no, I can't afford it, because then that reinforces, of course, what I think you already understand. So the other thing is that you can focus on doing fun things with her and the fun that you can have to allow that to blossom. So maybe you don't have the finances to take her to a theme park today, but you do have time to play a board game or to play with her hair or to play imagination with her, and noticing that we do have the ability to have fun. We do have the ability to have a fun and exciting experience. And a fun and exciting experience is in a higher vibrational realm. And so if we accept and appreciate the connectivity and the fun that we do have, it puts both of us in a higher state where we're able to attract more of the things that we want anyway. The problem that will occur is that when people feel this lack within their finances, they're noticing we can't have fun. We can't have nice things. We don't have X, Y, Z. And so then the mind is focused on the lack, and the lack becomes reinforced. Okay, so yeah, we don't want to be like, no, you can't have this, no, you can't have this, but an emphasis on the fun that we can have. Okay, and encourage her to have dreams, encourage her to think big. You know, you could ask her questions like, you know, when you're an adult, what do you want to have? What all do you want to have? Get her to think about those things. Because the unconscious message that goes on a lot in parenting when parents don't have the finances is that the child gets trained to not expect or not reach for anything big because, like you mentioned, they're always telling them no. So I would probably encourage her to think big and think, well, what would you like to have when you're my age? What kind of home would you like to live in? What kind of adventures would you like to go on? And then more of the focus on what we can do rather than what we can't. I hope that's helpful. Good question. Okay, here's a intro. Okay, you want to share a manifest for another story? Your favorite artist got banned for 4 years. I tried to visualize him coming back successfully, and right now his magazine cover got sold 100,000 copies in 24 hours. Nice job. You know, sometimes that can be a fun way to play with your manifestations, because when you try to have like for yourself, manifesting for yourself, sometimes we're really hung up in the idea of it happening for me, but you can play with other people that way, like wanting them to find things, good things and have good things. And it's a fun thing to do. So that's a fun little manifestation practice right there. Well done. Well done. Oh, we got another super here. Peace says, I know I'm undercharging my lovely clients, but they don't have much money and I'd still like to support them. Oh, okay. I'm going to give you the answer. Are you ready? Undercharging them because you perceive them as not having enough money reinforces the idea that they don't have enough money and actually makes it harder for them to attract money. There's a reason why my courses aren't $15, okay? Yeah, I want to make money. But the other thing is that it's important to put out the message that you guys can afford things. You understand? I don't have a hang up about, oh, you can't afford it. I do not have a hang up about it. I know anybody could afford it. Anybody could, because you guys are all capable of manifesting money at any time. So it really doesn't matter what dollar amount I charge. If you're undercharging your clients and it's hurting you financially, you need to raise your prices, okay? I'm worthy of receiving this much money, and they're worthy of knowing they can afford it. You know, if you need to do that gradually because it's hard to believe and maybe just doubling it, you can do it gradually, but I would start to just inch up the prices because it's a better message to them. Okay, trying to put everything at like the rock bottom, like $1 for this, $5 for that, it implies the wrong thing to the person, okay, that they can't afford it. Okay, so that's my recommendation. Great question. And guys, I appreciate all the chats and the supers, but hold them because I'm coming up on the end here and I don't want you guys to write in and I skip over your questions. So thanks so much for the supers today. I did want to remind you guys that again, in one of my not cheap courses, because I don't do cheap courses, is going on its sale at the end of this month. And so I do put each of the programs on their best price of the year sale. This one is the Love Attraction program. It's called Magnetic Appeal. So if you're interested in this program, you want to go ahead and sign up to get the coupon code when it goes live in a few weeks. This program is not just for people who want to attract a new love. It's really for anybody who is struggling in their love life in one way or another. So if you have a hard time feeling worthy of a loving and passionate relationship, or if you're struggling to get a new relationship going, or you're disappointed that an existing relationship isn't working out the way that you'd like it to be, this is a good program for you. If you've often found yourself attracted to unavailable, detached, or even toxic people, this is a good program for you. If you have a specific love interest who isn't showing you the attention that you'd like, it's a good program for you. Or if you'd simply like to have the magnetic it factor that draws in high quality partners to you easily and effortlessly, this is a good program for you. So if you're interested in that one, again, go ahead and sign up for the notifications and the coupon code when it goes live. On Instagram, the link is in the link tree in my bio. On YouTube and Facebook, the link is in the description. I'm sure Mary's dropping it in the chat, but that one will be going live in just a few weeks. Again, if you have not yet taken the manifesting test, make sure to do that because that one's free and it will show you that you really are the creator of your reality. By allowing you to put something out and watch it come back. You can take that at manifestingtest.com. And of course, if you have not yet, subscribe, turn on your notifications, all that good stuff. I'm going to be back soon, but I will be out of town this week. I'm going on vacation. So I won't be here on Sunday, but I will be here next Tuesday. Okay, so it's a little bit off, but it will be Tuesday. What will that day be? Tuesday, July 15th at the same time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, whatever that correlates to you. Love to see you guys again for that one. But thank you so much for joining in on the live today and for all the really great questions. Thanks so much for the supers, the stickers, all that good stuff. And of course, I look